So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Can I hook you back here, BSN Network? This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, December 7th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday, December 2nd, hopefully, or 7th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good weekend. It was another packed weekend full of football. A lot of football on and a lot of basketball, college basketball. There was a lot of stuff on this weekend. Another packed sports weekend, I should say. Which was very, very good. There was a lot of good games on, a lot of good football games on for the college side of things and the NFL side of things. The Sunday night game was a lot closer than I expected, was a lot more interesting than I expected, which I have no problem with. I was expecting a complete blowout. That was not the case. But either way, the Chiefs came out with the win. Kind of what we all expected. Another decent week of my game picks. It wasn't amazing. I still obviously have the 3 games to go. Tuesday's game, tonight's 2 games, the Steelers and the Washington, the Bills-Niners, and then Tuesday's Ravens-Cowboys game. So I still have 3 games to pick. But it wasn't an amazing week. You're looking at it right now. You're looking at it now, and you could say, it's a pretty good week so far. I mean, I'm definitely on pace to get 10 wins, which is a good week. But, at this moment, it doesn't look too good because you didn't have these 3 games that still have to play. So if these 3 games play out right, and I feel confident with all 3 of my picks. If they play out correctly, then I think they will. Then I think I could get to 11 wins then, which is hopefully the case. But it was another good weekend of football. Miami dominated the New York Jets once again. Lose an interesting loss. We have a lot of breakdown on that game. Not so much that I'm angry. I'm just more kind of interested. I'm not interested. I'm just to the point. I'm shocked. I really am. The way that game ended, the way the Jets made the comeback, I'm kind of just very, it's weird. It's definitely weird. So obviously that was an interesting game, to say the very least. We'll talk about it. Not going to go full into a Jets rant because the Jets did not play that bad yesterday. I mean, the effort was there, right? They did not play horrible, but at the end of the day, it is another loss. So it definitely gets me mad. But at the end of the day, too, the more and more of us losing, the more and more the greater chance of us getting, which a lot of people think is the best quarterback coming out of college, is Trevor Lawrence, which would be amazing if we do. So that's obviously, hopefully, the case. But yeah, so these are the topics today. Like always, we got the NFL game / Jets and the Giants. Give you a whole run through. All that good stuff. Giants with a very, very, very surprising win yesterday. We'll talk about that. Fantasy football results. Not a good week of fantasy. Both leagues, but we'll talk about it. Then we got college football, college basketball, Miami and Kentucky. Kentucky stinks up the bed again. They go they move to 1-3. They stink it up again. They stink the arena up again. They fall to 1-3 on the season, and they are no longer a top 25 team. So we'll talk about that. Talk about Miami's blowout win against the Duke. Very excited, very happy the way Miami played. This was a game that I've been saying it for a while now. These are games that Miami has to win. It can't be close games. These are games that Miami has to win big. They did that against Duke. They showed a little rust early on, a couple turnovers early on, but they cleaned it up, went out there, scored 48 points, laid the boom on defense, had a shutout. So big day for Miami. They got the win. With all that being said, let's get into the podcast. So this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So another good weekend of football, like I said. These are my game picks for the week. Like I said, at the moment it doesn't look amazing, but depending on how these rest of these games pan out, obviously we have 2 games today. It will depend on how good it really is. I went 8-4 so far this week on my game picks, which moves me to 130-67 on the season. So I'm on pace, hopefully to reach that 133 win mark, if I get the next 3 games right, which I'm all confident in my picks for the next 3 games. But we'll talk about it. So, another good weekend of game picks, finishing above 500 again, really bouncing back from that week 11. Week 11 was a struggle. Week 12, was good. Now this week again, no matter if I get the next 3 picks wrong, I automatically finish above 500. So another above 500 week for me. Went 8-4 and moved to 130-67 on the season. So that was interesting. I was not expecting my Giants Seahawks pick to be wrong. I mean, if you would have told me on Friday the Giants would have beat the Seahawks, I thought you were completely crazy. I almost could have said that I locked that pick down so much to where the point where the Seahawks would win, but that was not the case. Even the Patriots game. I mean, I did not expect the Patriots to go out there and shut out the Chargers. I mean, they were dominant. I was not expecting that big of a game for the Patriots. They ended up winning 45-0. I was not expecting that, but obviously we gotta see what happens there the rest of the way for the Patriots as their playoff hopes continue. That Vikings-Jaguars game, I was not expecting it to be that close. Boy, I was not expecting the Browns to go off the way they did. The Titans made a late comeback, but was too late for them. So definitely another good week of football. But let's get into the Jets game. So the Jets-Raiders game, we just got news a little bit ago about Greg Williams being fired from the New York Jets. So Greg Williams, this was just a little bit ago right before I came onto the podcast. So I wanted a little talk about it. So Greg Williams has been fired from the New York Jets, our defensive coordinator. I don't know if I kind of want to make the assumption that it was mainly because of yesterday's play call, and we'll get to that in a second. I want to probably venture to say that it was probably because of yesterday's play call. It could always be, too, on the all-around the entire season, because the Jets' defense this season on stopping the run has been very good. But the secondary, the overall points allowed, we're allowing 29.8 points per game, that kind of thing, that I could see being frustrating, and that I could see resulting to a firing of our defensive coordinator. So, it's interesting. It's a little interesting. But we did fire him. So, if you want to ask me how I think about this, I kind of look at it as no matter what happens, all these coaches are going to get fired by the end of the season. So, it's whether you fire them now or you fire them when the final after the Patriots game on week 17. It's whenever you do. So I kind of look at it as, it's not really a game changer, and it's not really a game changer. It's not really something that we're gonna really improve. It's not something bad, but it's also not a good move. It's kind of one of those things where he's gonna be fired at the end of the season either way. This whole coaching staff is probably gonna be let go. They're probably gonna clear house at the end of the season. So to kind of say that I'm happy or mad about this move, it's kind of one of those things that I look at it as no matter what happens, these guys are gone at the end of the year. So I'm not really to the point where I'm like, oh, shocker, he got fired. I mean, I am surprised he got fired, but he probably would have got fired anyway at the end of the year, especially if we get rid of Gaze and a new coach comes in. He's going to want to bring in his own guys. So I look at it that way. The play call yesterday, we'll get into that. So the New York Jets did, in fact, lose yesterday 31-28. The Jets made a very late comeback. They were down 24-13 going into that fourth quarter. They drive down the field, score. It's 24-21. They hit the two-pointer. 24-21, right? They're cruising. Stop them on defense. Or actually a fumble. Henry Ruggs' ball got punched out by Guidry. Fumble by Henry Ruggs, recovered by the Jets. The Jets right now are flaming hot right now. So then they drive downfield again. Darnold rushes in for a touchdown. They make the extra point, and it's 28-24. And this is where the game spiraled from here. And I know a lot of Jets fans are very happy. They're very, very happy. I know there's a lot of them. A lot of Jets fans are rooting for the Jets to lose, as funny as it may sound, because they want to ensure that we get that first overall pick, which is very well the best player coming out of college ever, which is a very good shot. So we'll probably, I'm like I said, I'm kind of unbalanced on this. I'm on the way where I want to see the Jets at least pull out one win, whether that's against the Raiders yesterday, whether that's against the Patriots on the last week of the season. I want to try to see the Jets win at least one game. And I am rooting for the Jaguars to win because that really ensures us to get that first overall pick. But I definitely am wanting to see the Jets. I want to see the Jets win at least one game because you don't know how frustrating as a fan it is to sit there and watch the Jets every single weekend, watch them play and lose. So let's get back to it. So it's 28-24. The Raiders have the football. They're cruising. I mean, they're driving right now. They're driving. Jets have a bad penalty on third down and 7, which is once again goes to show you bad coaching, undisciplined football. Jets are the 5th most penalized football team in the NFL. Once again, 3rd down and 7, an awful penalty, a bad pass interference by the rookie Bryce Hall. So, you got to give him a little bit of balance. You got to give him a little bit of space there because He is a rookie. He's still learning. This is only his fifth game, I think, playing. He's coming off of a gruesome ankle injury in college, right? So you got to give him a little time, but still a bad penalty to say the least. They get the first down. They keep on driving. Raiders are driving. I don't know where it was. It was probably about the 10-yard line or so. The Raiders score a touchdown, but there was a flag. It got called back. It was a pass interference on, I'm pretty sure, Darren Waller. Pushed the guy off. It was a pass interference. They scored a touchdown, pass interference on the Raiders this time, so the play gets called back. It is now 4th down and 3. Raiders throw it, knocked down by the Jets corner. It is now the Jets ball on their own 10-yard line. So the Jets, like any football team would do, run the ball 3 times, try to drain out the clock, or run the ball 3 times, try to drain out the clock, and then they get tackled. They burn the clock down to about 40 seconds or so and then punt the ball. This is where Greg Williams' Jets run came to an end, right about this possession, I'm assuming, which is why he's getting fired. So this is what happened. So the Raiders' first play, throw it. I think they got tackled in bounds, which I think resulted them into go up to the line quickly and try to get another play or something. So the Jets burned the clock down. I don't know. I think the Raiders threw it, got tackled in bounds, then had to come up, spike it, and then it was a 2nd down and 10. It was 15 seconds left. Carr rolls back, drops back, throws it deep, overthrows Alshon Jeffrey. And in that moment, if you're Greg Williams, you got to realize that's on, that, you got to realize Alshon Jeffrey was wide open. Just Derek Carr made a bad throw and overthrew him. So it is now a 3rd down and 10 for the Las Vegas Raiders. And this is where Greg Williams' run with the New York Jets more than likely came to an end. And this is where the Jets tank continues. It is a 3rd down and 10 with about 10 seconds left. And the Jets, Greg Williams calls a full-out blitz, an all-out blitz, and they leave the 3 corners on an island. So you leave Lamar Jackson on an island, Marcus May picks up Waller, and Bryce Hall picks up, I think, Hunter Renfrow. So those are your 3 guys that they pick up. They're going. 3 guys, people. 3 guys. They go on full out, leave them on an island, man coverage, hope they stop them, make a play, win the game. That's his goal. And it did not work. Henry Ruggs, one of the fastest receivers ever to come out of the NFL Combine, burns our rookie Lamar Jackson, scores a touchdown, 5 seconds left. Jets, try to do the classic Hail Mary. Does not work. Jets lose. Now, I would like to say this. The Jets yesterday tried their best to make a comeback. They did. They definitely made many Jets fans, including myself, nervous. Involving, just the fact that, them losing by that big. I was a little worried that they were going to take another L. And I'm sure a lot of Jets fans were also very worried with them scoring on a touchdown and stuff. So, I didn't want that. I wanted them to win. A couple things I would like to say, though, about the Jets yesterday on a kind of just a level. The Jets yesterday, this is their offense. Darnold played pretty well yesterday, but their offense has got to start to capitalize on these turnovers. This Jets defense is forcing turnovers. This is an offense that's got to start capitalizing. They did once yesterday. But early on in the game, the Jets had a quick pick, first drive of the Raiders. Jets all the momentum in the world. And the Jets, just like that, go 3 and out without gaining a yard that next drive. They have to capitalize on the turnovers. They have to. So the Jets fall to 0-12 in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes are still open. Darnold had 14 and 23, 186 yards, 13.3 his average, 2 touchdowns, interception, 3 sacks, a rating of 97.4. Mims had 3 targets, 2 catches for 40 yards. He had the 2-point conversion as well. Crowder had 5 catches for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson had a big day running. He had 22 carries for 104 yards. Darnold also had a rushing touchdown himself. Gore left the game early on with a concussion. He got injured early on in that game with a concussion, so that was that. The Raiders, Derek Carr went 28 of 47, 381 yards, 13.6 was average, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks, and a rating of 97.9. Darnold had a rating of 97.4. So it was ultimately a very good day for Derek Carr. Devontae Booker, 16 carries for 50 yards, no touchdowns. Carr had a rushing touchdown himself. Waller had 17 targets, 13 catches for 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 15.4 was his average. Henry Ruggs also had a touchdown, 3 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. He had the big late touchdown to win the game. The Jets fall to 0-12 on the season, and the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes continue. The Giants yesterday picked up the win against the Seahawks. I was not expecting this. The Giants are, they're cruising right now. They're cruising. Definitely, I still don't think they win the NFC East. I think the Washington wins the NFC East just because of the strength of schedule. But the Giants are definitely still, the Giants are definitely making it interesting. They're definitely making it interesting, to say the very least. With the win yesterday, it really, really, really does put them in front of the Redskins right now. Now the Redskins are a full 2 games back. They got to win, and they got to win again because they're 0-2 in the series against the Giants. So, the Redskins have a big game tonight. Giants got the job done yesterday. And this was kind of one of these weeks for the NFC. So you had all 4 of the NFC's teams were all playing hard teams. You got the Cowboys against the Ravens. Ravens are probably a playoff team. Washington Steelers definitely a playoff team. Giants, Seahawks a playoff team. And then the Eagles, Packers, a playoff team. So, if you think about it, probably all of us are expecting the NFC East were to go 0-4 this weekend just because of all their games. Eagles, Packers, Cowboys, Ravens, Giants, Seahawks, and then today's game between Pittsburgh and Washington. So we were all probably expecting NFC East to go 0-4. Right now they are 1-2. You still have obviously the Redskins game tonight and then the Cowboys game tomorrow. But the Giants went out there, they played well, and I'm going to tell you this. This is a Giants team that their offense is not very good. And I will tell you that, and I think a lot of Giants fans can agree on that, and I'm actually giving credit to the Giants defense. The Giants defense is what has gotten them to this 5-7 record. And I understand Colt McCoy came in yesterday. You're not expecting the Giants to score 35 points with Colt McCoy at quarterback, nor would you be expecting that if you had Daniel Jones at quarterback. But I will tell you this. I think the Giants' defense has really improved since last season, and I think that's part of their reason because of their defensive coordinator. You got to give credit where credit's due. I don't like the Giants at all, but at times you got to give credit where credit's due, and credit is due at their defense. They have shown a lot of potential at their defense, not just the veteran guys there, but also the young guys. Not just the Logan Ryans of the world, those veteran guys. Jabril Peppers, Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence. Guys like that are stepping up. James Bradbury. Guys like that are stepping up are really, 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 really playing very, very well. So we obviously, obviously for Giants fans, it's very exciting. And this was probably one of the biggest upset wins of the season for the New York Giants. So good for the Giants to get this win. Obviously, I was not expecting this at all, but the Giants, they played pretty well. Colt McCoy did not have his best game. You can't really expect much out of Colt McCoy, but definitely was a good win for the Giants. Colt McCoy went 13-22, 105 yards, 8.1 was average, a touchdown, a pick, 2 sacks, and a rating of 67.4. Wayne Gallman had 16 carries, 135 yards, and 8.4 was his average. Alfred Morris had a touchdown himself. Alfred Morris also had a touchdown. He was the big scoring guy yesterday. Ingram had 4 catches for 32 yards. Tate had 30 yards. Shepard had 22 yards. Just things like that. And as for the Seahawks, they struggled as well. Wilson went 27-43, 263 yards, 9.7 was average. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He took 5 sacks on a rating of 78. So not good there. Chris Carson had 13 carries for 65 yards. 5 was his average. Metcalf had 5 catches for 80 yards. Lockett 6 catches for 63 yards. Carson had 3 catches and a touchdown. And he was followed up by 45 yards as well. So, frustrating day for the Seahawks, but, they have a bounce-back win this week against the Jets, a very simple game to win. So at least the Seahawks, they're running into a little bit of that bumpy stretch. At least they play the Jets this week, and they'll be able to get a bounce-back win. Now on to the rest of the Sunday games for this week. So, the Chiefs beat the Broncos yesterday 22-16. I'll tell you what, I was really surprised with this game. I was not expecting this game to be this close. I was not expecting to really come down to the Broncos' final drive. The Chiefs did not come out. The Chiefs did not play their best football yesterday, and I think we can all agree on that. And as for the Broncos, they played pretty well. The Broncos played pretty good, considering this is a Broncos team that's struggling, going through a rebuild, right, considering that. So the Broncos moved to 4-8. But the Broncos were able to really, really stop Patrick Mahomes yesterday. Really able to stop Patrick Mahomes, not interceptions and stuff-wise, but just stop him from throwing those 7 touchdowns, or they stop him from throwing all those touchdowns in one game, right? So, obviously, that was one big key. Mahomes still had a solid game. He obviously threw a touchdown. But Mahomes, this is the first time, I think, since Mahomes took over as the starter, where he has not thrown a touchdown in the first half. This was a Broncos defense. I understand the Broncos lost, but this is a Broncos defense that deserves a lot of credit. They stopped by far the best offense in the NFL yesterday to only 9 points in the first half. To only 9 points in the first half, people. That is how solid their defense was. To 3 field goals, okay? That's how solid their defense was. You got to give credit where credit's due. Broncos defense played good, but ultimately Chiefs offense late won them that game. Next up, we got the Packers and the Eagles. Eagles bench Carson Wentz. Packers won, by the way, 30-16. This was another obvious one, right? You're not really expecting many Eagles fans right now, I'm sure, are very frustrated. You're not really expecting much out of this Eagles team. This is another team going through the rebuild. Realistically, they still have a shot to win a division. But obviously, this is a team. This is obviously just got to be another frustrating loss for the Eagles. They almost made the comeback. Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz got benched. They almost made the comeback, but ultimately it was too short, too late. Aaron Rodgers, I'll tell you what, and I don't know, and I don't want to sit here and say the reason Aaron Rodgers is doing good is because they drafted Jordan Love, because Rodgers had a good year last year, don't get me wrong. But you got to feel some of it. Like, Rodgers is having such a good year. You got to feel some of it. Some of it's got to be because of the fact that they did draft Jordan Love. And he wants to show this Packers team and wants to show, if in fact this is his final year with the Packers, he wants to show them that he can still start in this league and play at a very high level. He wants to show them, right? I don't so much think that, not to the point that he's, not to the point where, he's purposely playing good because of Jordan Love, but I feel some of it could be the fact that, he's obviously, he's getting up there in age, right? He's getting older for NFL kind of, age-wise. The last season, they made it to the NFC Championship game. You think, okay, this might be one of the final runs with him. He's still showing, not just the Packers, but if in fact after this season they do go to Jordan Love, he is showing the league that he could still play at a very high level. Like right now, I would take Aaron Rodgers all day long over Brady on my team. If I had to pick some guy that's up there in age in the NFL right now, I would take Rodgers. Over Breeze, over Brady, I would take Rodgers right now. I would. Now, I know Rodgers is not as old as Brady and stuff, but if you're going to talk about quarterbacks that are definitely getting up there in age and retirement might be around the corner, coming around the corner soon there, I would take Rodgers. Because this is a guy that is still playing at a very high level. He can run if you need him to. He's playing with not the best, he's playing with one of the best receivers in the NFL, which definitely helps. I mean, Devontae Adams, I think, might make a name for himself at this point that he is the best in the NFL, maybe outside of DeAndre Hopkins. And you're obviously talking about, he doesn't have the best receiving core. Outside of Devontae Adams, Valdez-Scalin's all right, Lazard's okay, but not these big name guys like what Kyle Murray's working with, a Christian Kirk, a DeAndre Hopkins, a Larry Fitzgerald, not those big name guys. A lot of youngsters, and he's made it work there in Green Bay. He's had a very successful career there, and he continues to go. Packers win 30-16. Patriots, Chargers. I'll tell you this. The Chargers want to take this game and throw it. Some teams do this. I don't know if all teams do. I know some teams definitely do this, though. Where, they won't even, they'll watch film, but they won't even really recap this game. Like, they won't even, they'll just forget about these blowouts. That's a lot of times, actually, and it might sound crazy, and I'm not saying this just to say it. Look it up. I even heard it last year on a college game. When Florida was getting blown out by Clemson, they were losing a 40-something to nothing. The announcers were actually saying that this might be one of those games you only take a couple film moments. Like, you don't look like, sometimes you look at film throughout a whole drive. These are some of these games where you don't do that. Like, this is some of these games where you find yourself, there's too much negatives here, you just throw it out. Like, these are some of these games. It really is. So, it's definitely going to be interesting. But this is a Chargers team, and I don't know, Anthony Lynn's era there, this little run that he's had with them, he obviously got him to the playoffs a couple seasons ago. His run there, I think, is coming to an end, which could be interesting what happens with Herbert, because now you're giving Herbert a new head coach in his second season. I don't want to say that's going to turn into a Darnold situation, but you find that players that have multiple head coaches through the first couple seasons, first couple years of their career, they find themselves really, really struggling. So, not that I'm saying Herbert's going to do that, but, definitely having a coach that he's bonded with, then to fire him and hire someone else, it's going to be interesting. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe you get Bieniemy. Maybe you get someone like that that's out there. But I definitely think Coach Anthony Lynn's run there is coming to an end with the Chargers, especially after yesterday's loss. And the Patriots yesterday dominated on both sides of the ball. There's not much else to say. They won 45-0. Of course they dominated. Patriots win 45-0. And they're keeping their playoff hopes alive. 6-6 right now. Patriots, let's see. 6-6. They got the Rams, the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Jets. So, the Rams is going to be tough, but then you have, that's a quick turnaround, that's a Thursday night game, so the Rams are going to be tough. Then you have the Dolphins, which is possible. The Bills is going to be tough, but also possible. And you have the Jets, which is a win. So, let's say, hypothetically speaking, they're 7-6 with the Jets win. I think they could beat the Dolphins, though, they're interesting. It depends on what Patriots team you're getting. Are you going to get the Patriots team that gets blown out 33-6 against the Niners, or are you going to get the Patriots team that wins 45-0? Or what Cam Newton are you going to get? Are you going to get 4 interceptions Cam Newton, or are you going to get Superman Cam Newton? This is one of these Patriots teams that I don't know if you can rely. That's why I don't even know if you could predict their schedule. Because, who knows? Everyone expected them to beat the 49ers. Everyone is, this is going to be a cakewalk of the game. They lost 33-6. You could say that about any NFL team, but especially this Patriots team is so inconsistent. They find themselves blowing out a playoff team, and then next week, barely beating the Jets or something. You find yourself beating the Cardinals, but then getting crushed by the 49ers. What Patriots team are you going to get? If you get the very good Patriots team, they're a scary team, and I'm going to tell you that. If you get the good New England Patriots, if you get the good Cam Newton, they can be a scary team. But if you get the bad New England Patriots and the bad Cam Newton, they can look as bad as the Jets at times. And I'm not even kidding when I shouldn't have took it that far. But they can definitely look like some of these bottom-of-the-league teams, whether that's a Bengals, whether that's a Jaguars. They can look ugly. And they can make some of these bottom-of-these-league teams like the Jets look good. So, what Patriots team are you going to get is the big question. That's the question of the day. That's why it's tough to predict the rest of their schedule here. What Patriots team are you going to get? They're so inconsistent. And if you want to be a solid team, you got to build some sort of consistency, and the Patriots don't have that. But the Patriots did get a big win yesterday. Now I move on to the Rams and the Cardinals. I'll tell you what, the Cardinals, Cardinals are interesting. I'll tell you that for sure. The Rams come out with the win, 38-28. Rams just are playing good. The Rams are just playing, I don't know, but I think the Rams might make a run for the playoffs. I'm not even kidding when I say this. I really believe the Rams may make a run in the playoffs. I know this might sound crazy, but look at their upcoming schedule. The Patriots, like I said, is a winnable game. I said that even with the Patriots when I was talking about the Patriots, so that's 9-4. Then you have the Jets. That's 10-4. The Seahawks you can beat, and then the Cardinals you've shown you can beat. I'm honestly saying that this might be a Rams team that you got to watch out for. This might be a team that makes a deep playoff run. From what I've seen out of Jared Goff, this running game, and especially this defense shutting down some of these top offenses and some of these top quarterbacks, I'm telling you, this is going to be interesting. I don't want to say it's a team that's going to make the Super Bowl, but maybe just one or two more players here and there, I could ultimately get this team back to where they were just a couple seasons ago, and that was ultimately the main event, which is the Super Bowl. But I'm telling you, this Rams team, I think, may make a playoff run. And as for the Cardinals, They got to get back on track. Luckily, they have an easy game coming up against the Giants. So that's a very winnable game. Luckily, they play the Giants, which is a very winnable game. So you'll be able to bounce back there more than likely. But I'm telling you, there's a very, very, very good shot that this Cardinals team doesn't make the playoffs. Because you still got to play the Rams again. Let's look at the Cardinals. You still got to play the Rams again. You got the Giants, which is a winnable game. You got the Eagles and the Niners, which is going to be winnable. So, you might only finish 9-7, which would possibly get you in, which might just squeak you into the playoffs. So this is definitely a Cardinals team that has dropped 4 of their last 5 games, which is not good at all for the Arizona Cardinals. They got to get back on track. This is a very winnable game they have coming up against the Giants. You got to win this game, and you just got to move forward, right? You have a couple winnable games coming up. You got to take it game by game by game by game. Next up, we have the Jaguars and the Vikings. I'll tell you what, the Vikings yesterday did not play their best football. They really did not. At the end of the day, they got the win. But something I noticed out of this Jaguars team, and you might call me crazy for this. Call me crazy all you want. Something I noticed about this Jaguars team is they've been in almost every single of their games. And that is something I want to say. Like, the Jets are getting blown out. Outside of yesterday, the Jets are getting blown out. Right? The Jets are getting crushed. The Jets are just getting demolished every week. Week in and week out, they're getting crushed. At least the Jaguars are in some of these games. They beat the Colts in the first game of the season, okay? Then you lost 33-30. That's a close game. You only lost by 3. That's a close game. Then you lose, 39-29. That's decently close. You lose 33-25. That's just one. That's a touchdown and a 2-point close. Then you lose 27-25, and that's 2 points. That's close. Then you lose 24-20 against what a lot of people think is a Super Bowl contender in the Packers. That's close. Then you get crushed by the Steelers. But then you lose by 2 against a team that absolutely just whooped the Titans and the Browns that looked like they were a complete contender yesterday. And I know these are all losses, but at least they're in these games. And then you lose by 3 against a team that's definitely a possibility of making a playoff push in OT with Mike Lennon. So I don't know if it's just the fact that, they're not playing the best teams, because the Lions aren't that good, the Chargers aren't amazing, the Texans aren't amazing, the Vikings aren't amazing. I don't know if it's because of that, but at least this team's showing some sort of fight. I mean, the Jets don't even have that. And that's something I want to say. If you had to take the records out of it, take 0-12 and 1-11 out of the draft. And just look at and watch each team play the game. Get 2 monitors and watch each team. Get 2 TVs and watch the Jets on one TV and the Jaguars on another. And I bet you 90% of people would say the Jets deserve the first pick. Because at least this Jaguars team is showing some sort of fight. They lost by 4. They lost by 2. They lost by 3. They lost by 2 again. Like, all these games are close that they're in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, I don't know. It might just be me, but it's one of those things where I'm sitting here saying that if I had to choose right now, take the 0-12 and the 1-11 record out of it, I would say that the Jets deserve the first pick. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Jets fan. Look at it. I mean, the Jets are just getting crushed every game, and the Jaguars are at least competing against some good teams. The Vikings are not that bad. I mean, they lost by 2 against the Browns, who are 9-3, and just look like just Baker Mayfield looked like he's an MVP yesterday. So it's at least the Jaguars team showing some sort of fight. And the Vikings, I said the Vikings got to focus on game by game. The Vikings kind of got caught looking ahead yesterday. Luckily, they were able to finish it late. They were able to gather themselves and finish that game late. Another thing with the Jaguars, too, is I find them blowing a lot of leads. They have a lot of leads going into halftime, and they blow them. It might just be because it might be just a bad team thing or just one of those things where the other team starts to realize, like, oh, my gosh, we're losing to the Jaguars. We got to, we can't treat them like they're a cakewalk anymore. Now we move on to the Dolphins and the Bengals. This was an odd game, to say the very least. The Dolphins came out and they were winning. The Bengals were winning for a little bit. Dolphins were winning for a little bit. This Dolphins game reminded me a little bit of the Chiefs win. This was an ugly win. It was an ugly game, but at the end of the day, they got the win, and that's all that matters. There was a couple ejections that happened. But ultimately, Tua had a good game, 296 yards and a touchdown. And ultimately, the Dolphins got the win, and the Dolphins moved 8-4. And I'm telling you what, this Dolphins-Bills matchup coming up looks even more and more intriguing. With the final week of the season, every week it looks more and more intriguing. And if you're the Dolphins, you got the Chiefs coming up. That's going to be a tough one. Patriots, that's winnable. I think winnable for both teams. Then you got the Raiders, which I think is winnable. And then the Bills is going to be tough. So, the Dolphins got a little bit of a tough schedule coming up, but they are also a good team as well. Bengals keep falling. This is kind of one of these things. Bengals just keep losing. You get that third or second pick, whatever it is, and you draft an offensive lineman. That's what you got to do if you're the Bengals. Browns-Titans. The Browns took advantage of a weak secondary yesterday. They really did, and they also shut the Titans out. They won 41-35. We got close. The Browns definitely got a little light on defense late in that game. But Mayfield played so well yesterday. He really did, and I've said this. They are going against a very bad secondary. But ultimately they did get the win. The Browns made it interesting late. They made the Titans came back, obviously, late, but Mayfield threw 4 touchdowns, 334 yards. So, really just was an amazing game for him. Chubb at 80 yards, good game for him. All around, Higgins, Peoples-Jones, Landry all caught touchdowns. Chubb had a rushing touchdown. And Lamb also had a touchdown. Everything that could have gone right for the Browns went right yesterday. And everything that could have went wrong for the Titans, including Derrick Henry fumbling, went wrong yesterday for the Titans. Browns got the win. Big win for the Browns. A big statement win for the Browns. A lot of people, including myself, have said this team hasn't had one of these big wins against some of these big teams. Look at their schedule. Ravens, they lost. The Bengals, Washington, Cowboys, Colts, they all beat. 3 of those 4 teams are below 500. Then you beat the Bengals again, below 500. Texans below 500. Eagles below 500. Jaguars below 500. All these losses they had, or all these wins they had, were all below 500. And the teams they lost to were playoff teams. The Ravens, the Steelers, the Raiders were all playoff teams. Finally, you get a win against a probably playoff team. And now this makes this Ravens game on Monday night even so much more interesting. Who knows? You start to get the Steelers tripping up on some of these games. Steelers got a little bit of a tough schedule coming up. Who knows? This Browns team might be able to sneak around. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but you never know. And they got the Ravens, then the Giants and Jets. Those are 2. So Browns at least finish with 11 wins. And I think they could beat the Ravens too. So they probably finish around 12-4. Which would definitely put them into the playoffs. And then you see what can this Browns team do. Saints, Falcons, this is another one too. Taysom Hill has played so good coming in for Drew Brees. And a lot of us, I'm sure, haven't expected this kind of outcome. But he has played so well. Saints came out and won that one 21-16. Falcons just defense is just so bad. That is one thing Falcons have got to do in this offseason. They've got to fix their defense. Colts, Texans. Colts came out and won. Texans brung up a good fight against a very good defense. T.Y. Hilton's coming around the past couple weeks for the Colts, I'll tell you that. Not only just for fantasy, but for the Colts too. He had a very slow season. Finally, the past 2 weeks, getting in the end zone and getting some good yards. So he's coming around. Colts are coming around. Colts looking good right now. They're 8-4 right now. They're looking pretty good. The Colts got a couple games coming up where they're going to be tough. You got the Raiders, Texans, Steelers, and Jaguars. So you probably get a win against the Texans and the Jaguars. And then the Raiders and the Steelers are going to be interesting. So obviously it's going to be an interesting end of the season for the Colts. They got to also take it game by game by game. They got a couple big games coming up. You can't be looking ahead to those big games and not focus on those winnable games. Lions beat the Bears. It was really crazy. The Bears came out and, Trubisky did not play awful, but he did not play bad. Touchdown. 267 yards. Montgomery had a big 2 touchdowns. Cordell Patterson had a touchdown. But at the end of the day, the Lions and Matt Stafford came out on top. So that was the rest. That was your Sunday in football. So now we move on to the Washington and Steelers game and then the Bills-Niners games. So Washington Steelers is tonight. Washington over-under is 43.5. The Steelers are 6.5-point favorites on Fox at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Steelers are obviously home here. These are the questionables and stuff. Moses, groin is questionable. Anderson, knee is questionable. And McLaurin, ankle is questionable. Need McLaurin to play. He is a very, very solid receiver for Washington. Roethlisberger, not injury related, is questionable. Chris Boswell, hip is questionable. And Nelson, knee is doubtful. So I'm going to tell you this. I don't think tonight's game will be a utter blowout. I don't. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be an utter blowout. I don't personally think it's going to be a game where if you're the Washington, you're going to want to delete the film. I know a lot of people think that. Maybe it's just that I'm very high on Washington. I think that they're a very solid football team, top to bottom. But I don't think they're going to get blown out tonight. And the reason I say that is because I don't think this Pittsburgh team is all that good. I don't think this Pittsburgh team is amazing. I really don't. You could say 11-0 this, 11-0 that. First off, look at their schedule. I understand 11-0 is 11-0. But I don't think this team is the best team in the NFL. Their offense is not very good. It's their defense. It's not the offense. It's the defense, people. Not the offense. This team reminds me of exactly the what's it called? The Ravens or the Broncos team the year they won the Super Bowl. This is what this team reminds me of almost exactly. Their offense stinks, but their defense is insane. And that's what ultimately gets you. Defense wins championships, people. That's what ultimately gets you to the finish line. To the promised land. So that's what ultimately gets you to the championship. I do give Pittsburgh the win, though. I do think the Steelers win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think the Steelers win 21-17. I think it's going to be a close game. I take the under on the over-under, 43.5. And I think the Steelers win, but it's going to be 21-17. I don't think they cover. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think Washington's going to bring up a fight. It's going to be a good game, but I do have the Steelers winning. Now I move on to the Bills and the 49ers. Bills come into this game over under 47.5. Niners come into this game 1-point favorites. Today, 15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. Mosley hamstring questionable and Williams ankle is out. Those are all the injuries. I don't know if the Bills have any major injuries there. For my game picks, I got... So, for my game picks, I've got the Bills winning 31-21. I take the over on the over-under of 50. I take the over on the over-under of 47.5. I think the Bills win 31-21. I take the over on the over-under of 47.5. Like I said, I don't think this Niners team's that good. I think the Bills are a very good team. I understand the Niners just beat the Rams. I get it. I understand it. It's one win. Bills will win this game. That's my pick there. Cowboys Ravens, will preview that tomorrow as well. So those are your games. Those are the games for tonight. So some good games on tonight. Should be exciting. Another double header for fantasy football for the NFL games. Coming up next, fantasy football. Okay, so this was a frustrating week in fantasy football. I'm losing in my one league, 109, 108. He's got 2 players to go. I've got none. He's got Pittsburgh defense and Diggs. So, mathematically, I could still win this game if Pittsburgh defense somehow gets into the negatives. But I don't think they will. And also, I'm also going to need Diggs to do nothing. So, what I'm trying to say, I'm going to need Pittsburgh defense to get, negative points, which defenses have gotten negative points before. Now, Pittsburgh's tough to get negative points, but they usually don't. But defenses have gotten negative points. For example, I bet you there's a defense this week that got negative points. Let's see. I bet you there's a defense that got negative points this week. Let's see. Boom. There it is. Bears got negative 2 points this week. So, because they start off with 10 points, and then scores, touchdown, yards, and stuff, negative, 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 keep on dropping them. So mathematically, I can still win. Realistically saying, if the Bears defense gets negative 2 points or negative 1 point, then I would be winning by 1. But then that means Diggs cannot get more than 20 yards, which is literally he can get that on one play. So my chances are very slim, but mathematically I can still do it. I don't think I'll do it, though. But he's looks like he will win, which would put me at 6-7, and I would be and I'm going to move in as the looks like I'll move in as the 3 seed. Or 4 seed, so that's the deal there. Aaron Rodgers had 29 points, Carson had 17, Eckler had 6, Adams had 24, Woods had 8, Henry had 5, Gurley had 2, Packers D had 12, Daniel Carlson had 8. My bench, Elliott still got to play, Schuster still got to play, DJ Moore bye week. Allen Robinson had 7, Matt Ryan had 14, and David Johnson had 10. I was going to put him in just because I know he's about a guaranteed 10 points. But I gotta look at that for next week, I guess. Just gotta review it and see what I can do better. Now I move on to my other league. My other league, I'm losing right now 118-60. But I've still got 3 players to go. I still got Antonio Gibson, Raheem Mostert, and Baltimore defense. Watson got 18, Robinson got 16, Gibson still got to play. Hill had 8, Keenan Allen had 4, A.J. Brown had 6, Hunter Henry had none. Mostert, Ravens defense still got to play. Carlson had 8. Evans was on a bye week. Kenny Drake had 10. Rams defense had 13. Elaire had 0. He was questionable. He was active but did not play. Godwin was on a bye, and David Johnson had 10. My opponent still has Justin Tucker. So, let's just say Justin Tucker gets 8. That would put me at 126. I would put my opponent at 126. So 126 minus 60 puts me at 66. So I need 67 points out of Gibson, Mostert, and Ravens defense. Mostert last week got me 31, so I'm already halfway there. Gibson last week got me 31. So, I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't really want to say that. What's it called? I don't really want to say that it's going to happen, but 67 points between 2 running backs in the defense is possible. Best case scenario, Gibson needs to have another 25, 30-point week, which probably won't happen, but he needs another one. Raheem Mostert's going to need to do Raheem Mostert things. If he can let's just say Gibson gets me 30. I need one of my players to get me like 30, which is going to be difficult, but Gibson got it last week. So, it's going to be interesting, but I don't probably win there. Gibson plays all my plays today except Ravens defense. So I'll be rooting for Gibson against Pittsburgh and Mostert against the Bills there. So that's kind of fantasy there. Obviously, wasn't the best outcome, but at least both leagues I still will make the playoffs, which is good. Now I move on to the rest of the college football games and college basketball. As for college basketball, today we got Wofford and Richmond. I give Richmond the win. That's the AP Top 25 teams games. Miami yesterday lost 79-62. They're just really struggling. I mean, Miami, our shooting's bad, defense, turnover, and our turnovers hurt us bad yesterday. When I was sitting there watching that game, I almost had to shut it off. It was so bad. How bad our turnovers are is unbelievable. And this is a Kentucky team that is 1-3 now and falls out of the top 25. I mean, this team's gotta figure out a way to get some wins, because if we continue to play like we are, then we're not gonna be anywhere near the March Madness. You can forget about it. So we gotta find a way to get back on track quickly and focus on Notre Dame and try to get a win there. That's obviously the goal. And as for college football, Miami had a big win, 48-0. Clemson won 45-10. USC beat Washington State 38-13. Alabama won 55-17. Oklahoma won 27-14. Cal won 21-17. That's the second straight week. Oregon's gone upset there, so Cal won 21-17. Coastal Carolina won 22-17. Stanford won 31-26. Florida won 31-19. Iowa won 35-21. Iowa State won 42-6. Tulsa won 19-8. Indiana won 14-6. Notre Dame won 45-21. TCU won 29-22. Ohio State won 52-12. North Carolina won 49-9. Texas A&M won 31-20. Rice won 20-0. Big upset there. Rice won 20-0. Louisiana obviously won 24-21. That was on Friday. That Tennessee-Florida game was interesting early. It was close early to definitely tell you that. It was very close early on, but they could not hang on to the lead. It was definitely close there. So let's get out of this. So definitely was an interesting one there, but obviously, Miami was able to come out and win. Like I said, Miami, they're one of these teams where, they're trying to still kind of squeak in more into the top 10. So we've got to show these people that we can beat the teams we're supposed to beat. And I'm not saying close games. I'm not saying nail biters. Demolish them. Beat them 48-0 like the Duke. Everyone was expecting that. Now we got to go out and do it. We did it. Good week for Miami there. So, another good week for Miami. That is pretty much it, though, as Jets lose again and stuff like that. So, that will do it for the podcast today. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. I will hopefully enjoy the Monday night games tonight, the 2 Monday night games. And then tomorrow's the Tuesday game. We'll talk about that as well. So, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.